TUPAC INKA YUPANQUE the 10th Inca, Alexander the Great of the Andes. Kunter Soul, I had no idea that my father had problems while I was gone and why he was so precise in the timing of my expeditions. There was hunger and political dissension. In the midst of that calamity the nobles were hoping for Pachacutic's demise, and my death. I have inherited an empire that is not well solidified, and the sands of our excursions to the coast have yet to be hardened. I need to assert my influence, while Amaro is still alive. The people consider me an outsider for having lived so long in the north, and my son a stranger for having been born in Ecuador. TUPAC Capac, my experienced general, go to Chincha and secure the southern coast. Quismanco, who helped us to defeat the Caimas, feels that he is more powerful than we are, because of his great idol. I will march to their sanctuary, and try to renew my friendship with him. If he resists we have to take Pachacamac. Quismanco, I have come to offer you the better of two worlds. You will be the guardian of Pachacamac under the protection of an all-powerful Inca army, and allow us to build a temple for the sun and a cloister for our virgins. These two sanctuaries will become a place of pilgrimage for the whole empire. Inca, you speak with wisdom. I also know of your motives behind it. Nevertheless, nothing will please me more than joining our idols with that purpose in mind. TUPAC Yupanque, I feel that once you bring thousands of Inca people, as Mitimis, the coastal inhabitants will change their way of life. Kunter Soul, that is the only way to unify an empire. The runners have informed me that my father is very ill, he wants me in Cuzco. Our political victory is going to be a great source of happiness for him, and he will die a triumphant warrior. TUPAC found the dying Pachacutic talking to his numerous illegitimate sons. I know I have distrusted you, because your mothers thought only of making you lords. I am leaving you the whole of the empire, under the reign of my heir. In a voice that was getting weaker, he addressed his legitimate son, TUPAC Yupanque, you who have gone farther than I have. As a unique lord you must always require absolute obedience, even of your own brothers. For a family is like the scorpions, who curve their deadly tails against themselves. You must learn to step on them, until the poison of their treason splatters. Pointing his shaking hand at his elder son, he said, Amaro Yupanque, let TUPAC go on conquests, and you take care of the administration. His strength waning and his voice barely audible, he kept giving orders as if defying the inevitable. After I die, I want the master jewelers of Chimu to make a golden effigy of me, so that the nobles can commemorate my person. My nails and hair that were saved during my lifetime, place them in an urn and take it to all the nations, for the people to adore me. As the Inca was nearing his last moments, I came to his side. Oh, Inca Pachacutic, you have aged to your bones, but your greatness will perdure to the last of the ruins of your constructions. Great Lord of the times, what do you have to tell your descendants who are now in the dungeons of our own disgrace? Oh Kunter Soul, your coming to our times has been a painful experience. I am beginning to question the harshness of my life. For in our final days, we all end up in a solitude full of questions. With you, I have traveled the path of our past and of your present. It saddens me to know what happened to us, and what is happening to our descendants. From far beyond of my nothingness, I urge our people to be united, and reclaim the greatness of what we were. Otherwise, you will remain in the same precipices that we fell. Remember that a nation is the reflection of its virtues, and the follies of its people. It behooves our descendants to change the wrong we did, and honor the good that it was in us. As his evanescing soul was leaving this world, he spoke as if he were singing to himself, Oh, the sun will no longer shine upon me, I was born to be free like the itcha grass on the open fields, where not even the chancas could uproot me. But with the years, the petals of my youth fell, the stem of my life dried, and as time ate into my flesh, I became a bitter old man. Finishing singing this verse, he took his last breath to fog the caustic pages of our past. Nobles and generals, don't let anyone find out about Pachacutic's death. We must keep vigil while TUPAC is in the temple fasting for his reinvestiture. Days later, the new Inca lord attired in the splendor of his lordship was carried out on his golden litter to the Ocapada Plaza. In the midst of the ceremonies a runner came, and in a disconcerted tone told Tupac of the demise of his father, which was already known to him. Looking at the people, he exclaimed, "Oh, no! The great Pachacutec is now at the side of Inti." The newly crowned Inca covered his face with his mantle, grieving for the death of his predecessor. The transfer of power was passed on without any incidents. The funeral of his father was celebrated in all the empire. There is so much that can be said about Pachacutec. I just wanted to get to the core of his soul. I hope I have, because deep in my genes I carry the same strands of DNA of what we were. Not an absurd idea for any mestizo, who accepts that we are the descendants of the original inhabitants of the American continent. Kunter Sol, my generals are urging me to go on more campaigns. We will go to where the sun rises. Oh Inca! That will bring me fond memories of my youth in the jungles of Peru. Amaro Yupanque, the rainforest people will remain as the same savages if we don't civilize them. Sapa Inca and brother, you should think twice before turning into that green inferno. Amaro, this excursion will be more about adapting ourselves to their environment than to dominate them. Inca warriors. We are going to Pacartambo, the beginning of the forests. We will divide into 3 factions. I will go north on the Manu River, and perhaps find the legendary Paititi, which is said to be a city of gold. Otorongo Achachi, you go farther east. Chalco Yupanque will go south with the man of the future who knows that region. Tupac, you are going to an unknown area, and you will get lost like your predecessors did. Be careful. In the jungle one is closer to death with every step one takes, and anything that one touches or eats. Get the best Chuncho guides, they are masters of that green desert. Days later Chalco arrived at a place that is now known as Quince Mill or 15,000. I remember it as a one-street town, the farthest the trucks could reach after traveling for weeks on muddy roads. Then, we flew in a small plane over the deep jungles to Port of Maldonado. Man of the future, you who have been in those impenetrable forests, tell me if the Chunchos are still the same savages that they once were? Inca, the rainforest people have been exposed to the cheap advances of civilization, they are no longer the masters of their environment, and they have no land to claim as their own. Navigating down the unknown rivers, Chalco arrived at the present Porta Maldonado, a small city that is situated in the midst of the jungle. Chalco, it has been some time and we haven't heard from Tupac. He must be lost in the virgin forests of Manu. Kunter Sol, Otorongo is closely following Tupac's every step to help him, if he is in trouble. In effect, the Inca was fighting. Oh, Inti! Don't let me die in this ungodly green hell. Half of my troops are dead from hunger, diseases, and the arrows that come from midday obscurity of the thick canopies. Tupac's men were fighting their last battle. Luckily, Otorongo saved them from the unseen fury of the warriors of the jungles. Sapa Inca, now you know that these forests are unconquerable. Otorongo, what happened to Chalco and the man of the future? Inca, they must be faring well. They are navigating on known rivers, and they are not confronting the Chunchos. Why aren't they fighting these savages? Kunter Sol is only remembering the rivers of his youth. He seems to have more respect for the inhabitants of the rainforest than the people of the Andes. He may be right. The Chunchos are still savages, and we are no longer Incas but Indians. A runner brought news from the south. Sapa Inca. Kokire has named himself the Pachacutec of the Kalas, and he is spreading rumors that you are dead. Otorongo, I must return and form an army in Cuzco to quell their insurrection. If you find Chalco, both of you wait for me in Pacartambo, and we will enter the sacred city as victors. The Inca returned to Cuzco.